I am not a fearful person by nature. I don't worry unnecessarily about things. I've been able to really keep myself in check that way. I've done a lot of hard work to make it that way. But as I approach 60, I'm 57 now. As I approach 60 as a retired person, there's some things that I'm definitely starting to worry about. And what I'm worried about, I don't have solutions for. I don't have answers for. I don't know how to fix it. And in some ways, that's what makes it really scary for me. The first thing that I worry about is Social Security. Now, ever since I can remember, Social Security in the US has been in trouble. We've always known that at some point in time, either something drastic was going to have to change or happen in the US in terms of how we handle Social Security, or we were going to see a reduction in our benefits. And to be honest with you, if I see a small reduction in benefits, or if when I'm able to start collecting on Social Security is pushed off by a year or two, it's not the end of the world for me. Now, it might significantly affect other people, and that bothers me tremendously. But for my own purposes, that would be okay. What's not okay is if there are significant degradations of the benefits. Let me give you my example. So, as of right now, I'm set to be able to claim my full benefits at the age of 67, which is in 10 years. And if I wait until that point, I should be receiving about $3,100 a month. That's separate from my husband's, but for myself, it would be about $3,100 a month. Now, if nothing is done to help improve the Social Security outlook right now, my understanding is that we will see about a 20% reduction in benefits. That's real money, right? That would take me down to about $2,400, $2,500 a month. And while that's still great, it's not enough for a lot of people to live on, certainly. And it will definitely cut into our quality of life. Now, we have other investment income or we have other retirement investments that will be the bulk of what we use in retirement in terms of cash. But still, $3,100 to $2,400, that's a huge difference. And the way that the system is right now is that if we do nothing, we expect to see a deficit in Social Security in about 10 years. That's exactly when I'm supposed to start collecting on Social Security. So yeah, it absolutely bothers me. What makes it even more urgent right now is that over the course of the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years in the US, we could see some significant changes, and not for the better, in Social Security. There are people here who believe that Social Security is an entitlement when in fact it's not. We have paid into this Social Security system the entire time we've been working. And what we get out of it is what we are owed out of it. It's our money. We put money into it. We get money out of it. That's how it's supposed to work. But some people don't see it that way. And so there is the potential that not only will the current deficit remain in place and the cuts happen, 10-ish years from now, but also there could be further actions taken that would make that even worse. And that worries me. And alongside of that is also our Medicare system, which is by and large the medical system that our retired folks in the US depend on. And our Medicare system, whether it's the quality of it, the cost of it, or the availability of it, could also be significantly depleted or just kind of blown up over the next few years. And so that worries me too. The second thing I worry about as I approach 60 and in my retired stage is artificial intelligence. Now, for a little bit of context, I do have a background in working for and around and with people who are experts in artificial intelligence. And I feel very, it's not privileged. I'm very lucky to have sort of been involved in a lot of these conversations along the way, and I'm not to the point where it doesn't terrify me. The idea of artificial intelligence on its own is not terrifying to me at all. I'm actually very excited about it. I think that it could create an incredible abundance in terms of time and value in our lives. I see a world that could be significantly improved by AI. And I know that's not how a lot of people feel right now, but I wouldn't be telling you the truth completely if I didn't say I'm also afraid of it. I am terrified of what could happen with AI. AI is 100% right now dependent on how we create it and how we use it. Now, at some point, AI kind of takes on a life of its own, which is called the singularity, and that's a whole other thing. But until then, and between now and then, we have a finite window to influence, to build it right, to influence it, and to use it correctly, and to put some guardrails around how we use it. And if we don't do that, that can cause a lot of problems. And that's where a lot of people are afraid of it right now. The other aspect of it is that even let's assume that it happens the best way possible, it can create this whole new world where people don't have to go to work to make a living. We don't have the same economic give and take of I go to a job, I get a paycheck, and then that pays my rent. That could get completely blown out of the water. In the meantime, as that happens, and while we figure out what life looks like and how our systems work in that construct, it could get really, really, really hard for a lot of people. It could get ugly. There's so much fear involved in that, very righteously, that the fear of that can really take on a life of its own. And getting us from point A to point B without hurting as many people as possible, without completely blowing up how the world works economically, is going to be really interesting, and it could be really scary. And it's something, again, I have 30-year-old, two sons that are in their 30s, and they will absolutely be impacted by this. Their jobs, their livelihoods at some point will be shifting greatly. And that worries me. My grandbabies will probably never have to learn how to drive a car. They will probably never go to university. They may not even go to regular, elementary school and high school, because we'll be doing education completely differently. Anyway, if you're interested at all about hearing more about how a 57-year-old grandmother thinks about artificial intelligence and its impact on our immediate future as well as our medium and long-term future, I have a lot more thoughts on this. Again, I worked in industries that had a lot to do with artificial intelligence, not directly, but I've got a lot of thoughts on it. So if you're interested in that, drop me a note in the comments and let me know. I will probably do more videos on AI, but if you're really interested, let me know, and I'll make sure that happens. And the last thing, well, it's not really the last thing, the last thing for this video anyway, the thing that actually scares me the most, worries me the most, especially in the upcoming 1, 2, 3, 4 years, is our healthcare system in the US and the Affordable Care Act, otherwise known as the ACA. You'll hear it referred to a lot. And this is because, so my husband and I have been, our healthcare has been through the ACA ever since we decided to retire. We have been able to take advantage of ACA healthcare plans that are incredibly affordable and every bit as good as when we had healthcare through our jobs. If the ACA is gutted the way it's been threatened to be gutted, or if there are significant changes to it, it very much could affect our day-to-day lives in terms of how much it costs us and what kind of care we have. Now, back in 2019, I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And while I'm doing really well, I'm almost considered cancer-free. I will always have that. I will always have cancer as a pre-existing condition. And part of what the ACA does is not just, allow for people to get healthcare coverage at reasonable cost, but it also allows us protections. So not being able to deny somebody healthcare coverage because they have a pre-existing condition, or charging them exorbitant amounts in their premium because they have a pre-existing condition. Those are not allowed under the ACA currently. Covering your children between the ages of 18 and 26 through your job-provided healthcare is protected under the ACA. If that goes away, all of a sudden, all of the kids between 18 and 26 are going to find themselves without healthcare. So this is the big one for me. This is the really big thing, because if something significant is changed in the next couple of years, we could see our monthly cost go from what is right now about $300 a month in premiums to thousands of dollars a month. And that's no exaggeration. Those of you outside of the US are like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Yes, really. No, I'm not kidding you. That really worries me, because we're gonna have to pay. We're just gonna have to pay. How can you be our age and not have healthcare? You can't. I know there are a lot of people that do, and that's a whole that's a whole other issue. It's a whole other problem that we need to fix. But if you or anybody that you know has pre-existing health conditions, they are protected by the ACA. They are protected. They can still get healthcare coverage. But that could go away. And that's scary for me. That actually keeps me up at night sometimes. I'm not going to lie. There are times when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and go, oh my God, where are we going to come up with an extra couple $1,000s a month to pay for healthcare? I don't know. And so what do we do? What can you do as you're faced with these things that you really don't have any control over or influence on? How do you even come to terms with that? And really the only thing, I think the best thing to do is to be aware of them as much as possible and as early as possible, so that you can, if possible, make plans to offset that. My husband and I live pretty frugally, in part because we know that there are going to be unexpected costs in our future, whether it's because we won't get as much Social Security as we thought, or we're going to have to pay a lot more for healthcare than we thought, or we're going to have to help support our kids or our grandkids, or, whatever it is, because jobs have gone away and we haven't figured out, how to make sure that everybody still has a roof over their head and everything. So there are a lot of financial worries and a lot of financial solutions to these problems. And we are incredibly privileged. We worked very hard for what we have, but we are also incredibly privileged to be able to have the forethought to do this and some money to help our family when we can. And for that, I'm incredibly grateful. I am so grateful that we are in the position that we're in. And I still worry. Because who wouldn't? Honestly. Now, there are many other parts of retirement that are just super joyous, and I am so happy to be retired at the ripe old age of 57 and to have time on my hands to be able to think about these things and learn about them and plan for them. If you're interested in some of my other retirement related videos, I've got a couple here that might spark your interest. And until then, thank you for sticking around this long. I appreciate you. If you're still here, please like and subscribe, and that really helps me out a lot, and it will alert you to future videos on similar topics. Thank you.